we're going to try that again. So, welcome everyone to the Nerd for Life podcast. We are a STEM career themed podcast where we interview people that work in science, technology, engineering, mathematic related career fields. Today's episode, we're doing episode number 2 with my friend Sam. I know Sam from one of my college friends. She's a software engineer at Target. And with that, I'll let her introduce herself all over again. So,
All right. Yeah. So I'm Sam. I met other Sam at North Dakota State University. We both went to school up there for computer science. And then after that, I got a job at Target headquarters here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I work on the website and specifically like the deals team. So anything that's related to like promotions, basket offers, or circle offers, which so anything that you save money at Target.com for like a deal is my realm.
sweet. So then, I think I asked you about the Circle app. I was
Oh
asking
yeah.
if it was the mobile app, and you explained that it's not. And you want to explain that again?
Yeah, so Circle is a new thing that came up about a year and a half ago. And it used to be two separate things. You used to have to download Cartwheel on your phone as a separate app than Target, and that's how you got the deals. That was silly. So they introduced Circle, and it's like now integrated into Target.com, and so like that's how you get your Circle offers. So it's cross-platform, so that Circle is on both web and on iOS apps and Android apps. So, and I specifically work on the web. So there's 3 different platforms and there's like 3 different teams, and I'm on web to do work with that.
Sure, sure. So then, for your job, what are some of your main responsibilities?
Yeah, so I work on a team of an agile team, Scrum, that we work in 2-week sprints. And those sprints are planned out by a combination of our UX designers that we work with, our product owners, and UX designers, product owner, a scrum master, and the engineers. So there's 4 engineers on my team. And we work, our product owner kind of decides like what's the highest priority, what we need to be working on. She'll talk to separate teams and be our liaison between different teams to see what we should be working on. The UX designers are the ones that like create the content and the products, and then they come to the engineers and they're like, hey, can we do this, and how can we do this, and then we actually implement those designs and features.
Sure. Do you want to maybe explain for maybe some of our less technical listeners what Agile and Scrum and sprints, what all that means and stuff? Because I know when I heard those words for the first time, I'm like, what are they talking about? They talking about like a rugby game or something? But
Yeah, it is. It's kind of crazy because I've been working in it for years, so I kind of forgot that it's not as popular as it. So what it used to be is you used to work in something called waterfall. So you would take something like, say you wanted to add a button on Target.com, and you would work on that, and you would have this end goal, and you had to go only straight towards that end goal, and there was no like flow along the way. It just like was a waterfall, and there was no like interaction between UX, and like there was no like rehashing ideas. And so agile is kind of a thing where you slowly kind of add back and forth, you talk with different partners, and you work like with agility. So you just kind of jump back. I guess yeah, that's kind of a good term for it, but you're a lot more flexible in your work. And so agile is just kind of like an idea that you work with instead of like waterfall where you'd be working on one product for years at a time. Agile is a little bit faster, a little bit more flowy. And so in a scrum team that works on agile, you just have this team of people that collaborate and work together the entire time to come up with the best product at the end, and not just the original idea that there was out there. And then a sprint is just like a time box of time that we do 2-week sprints. So at the beginning of the sprints, we work together. We do sprint grooming, sprint planning, and we just take all these sets of tickets that we're going to work on. Tickets are just chunks of work. So something we're going to do. It's just a way to put a name to something. So we time box those within sprints. So say we want to work on like 15 points of tickets in a sprint. So it's just like a somewhat estimate of work that we say we're going to get done within this amount of time, instead of saying waterfall where we have this one thing and we just like do it for an entire year till it's done. We time box things with agile and sprints and scrum.
Right. Yeah. And someone, yeah. Obviously, I know what that is because that's what I work on that kind of stuff too. So it's like for software engineering, it's such a fast growing industry. You can't really stay in this structured project for a long period of time because things change. The people that you're working for, the requests on your product that you're providing them, their needs are probably going to change. Most software takes anywhere between 6 months, to 2 years. I'm assuming I'm making that guess because I don't develop software specifically, but in that time period, if you think about like your apps and stuff that you use on a day-to-day basis, they change pretty frequently. So to be stuck, that's why you would want to have something that's more flexible and less structured. But yeah, thanks for explaining that. Moving on, what is a typical day or week like for you?
So a typical day is 9 to 5, pretty standard time. It's flexible. So if I had to not be in like right at 9, I work remotely. So like everybody else in COVID, I'm working from my desk. This is my office. So if I'm not right on at 9, I'm not going to lose my job. But I usually try to stay within those time frames. Get out of the morning and I usually work for a couple hours, and we have what's called a stand-up. So our team gets together, we talk about what we worked on the previous day, and what we're planning on doing today, and if we have any blockers. So we'll talk about that at like 10:30 in the morning, and then I kind of go about my day and working on just the tickets that I had picked up. And so it's kind of like that falls again within the 2-week sprint. So that's kind of the same thing, just like the 9 to 5, we have our sprint meetings. And then on Wednesdays is we have every other Wednesday is our retro, where we talk about what went well that week, what could change. And we talk about like the next week's set of work. Yeah.
Sure. What is one common myth what's one common myth about your profession or field that you would want to debunk for the audience?
Yeah. So specifically, it's hard because like software engineering is such a big field, and I like work within like web. So I guess I could address something within there. I think something that people think about web is it's just like a click and drag, or you can use a software just to go to those like website builders, and that's what web development really is. But it's like actually coding. I don't like you had to code those websites to be able to do that. But so when you work on like actual like retailer website like mine, you want to do a lot more like unique development. So you can't just click and drag. You're actually like writing code, talking to APIs, the back end services, and I guess it's not click and drag what some people think web development is.
Right. There's a lot more of the Matrix type stuff going on behind the scenes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's kind of what I kind of learned the hard way in school and stuff, because I didn't really know a whole lot about what computer science, what it all was, until, the first freshman class that we took and stuff. But yeah, and another thing that's interesting though too is that like today, from I work on content management stuff, and there's definitely becoming a lot more tools available that allow a less technical person to go in and create websites and stuff, but there's still code and stuff behind all of that. And even though it might be some small business might create a website or something, there's still somebody else somewhere that they're probably using a platform of some sort, and there's going to be software engineers that are behind, something like that. So it's a never ending job, even when it like from more of a user endpoint, it becomes more user friendly, and I'm sure you can probably speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, software engineering and web development in general is never going to go away. Like you think that everything's just going to become an app, and that's true. There's going to be a lot of apps and stuff, but you're always going to have a website. It's, not everybody has a phone, not everybody wants to use apps. And computer stuff is sometimes just easier than doing it on your phone. Like shopping on a phone is dangerous, and I prefer to do it like on a laptop and stuff. So that's just never going to go away. You're always going to need web developers. And it's really cool that there are those sites out there that like you can just put together like your own website pretty quickly with like the pre-built templates, which is awesome. And again, yeah, there's engineers that actually work on those sites to create those that
Right.
makes it easy for the person that's not as technically inclined to be able to do.
Then here's a question for you. What's the difference between a software engineer and a software developer? Is there a difference? Because I see, like, people have different positions, obviously. Is there a difference between the two?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever really seen a difference between the two. I think it's just a term that different companies will use. Um, like I went to school for computer science, and some people will go to school for specifically software engineering, and I do the exact same job that they do. I got the same job they did. It's just really just a term that it's used to define coding abilities and working on computers. And I don't really think that there is, unless you've experienced it.
I haven't experienced it. That's why I was asking if, like,
Yeah.
in a different company, if it's there's a difference. Because I know that. So my brother, he's a mechanical engineer, or has his mechanical engineer degree. He doesn't use his degree much because he's in the Navy. But I know that at one point in time he got like an engineer certification. So to make him officially an engineer, is there anything like that for software engineers versus software developer that kind of gives them that little edge to be like, I'm officially an engineer kind of a thing? Or is that just kind
Yeah.
of
I don't,
lingo?
there's always certifications you can take to like get yourself certified in different like programs or tools. But I don't think it's like mechanical engineering where you have to, for example, like mechanical engineering, you can like take this thing called the FE test to like become a professional engineer.
Hmm.
It's not like that. It's the computer world is just, it's kind of just a term that's thrown around for everybody. You can get certifications, but there's
Sure.
nothing that like just officially makes you, getting the job title and working that job makes you that
Sure, sure.
person.
And I would imagine too that because the software development world is so broad and there's so many niches within that that category that it would kind of almost be pointless to make some sort of certificate that's software engineering, the big rainbow umbrella that covers everything kind of a thing where, that's kind of what I feel like that's kind of what your bachelor degree is for. But
Yeah. Yeah. And like when you apply for a job, like those, like what they want you to know is going to be on that job description. So like it'll be like, do you have do you have experience in React and JavaScript, um, all the different like avenues that you would want to know. So it's like that is kind of like where you could steer yourself towards to be able to like know what job fits for you if you know those specific skills on that job title. But again, those job titles are a software engineer in my company that works on web is very different than a backend software engineer that's creating like internal applications for like analysts to use and stuff. We're using very different tech stacks and very different things, but we're still called the same thing.
sure, sure. Sorry, that was kind of a little bit of a tangent, but
No, yeah, I like it.
so what do you like most about your work?
I spilled. I really like working at Target specifically. I mean, it's the only job I had out of college yet, but I guess I haven't left after almost 3 years because they've got really great work-life balance. Like I said, like I don't have to come in at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like if I am a little late or work a little later the next day, or something comes up in life, like they're very, very relaxed and like, yeah, cool, take care of yourself, do what you need. I got a puppy a little bit ago, and I told my manager, and he goes, "Oh yeah, no, take all the time you need." Usually I say this for people that have kids, but like if you need to take more time off, and I'm like, okay, it's just a puppy, but it's just I really like the relaxedness of this job. I know
Sure.
some other tech companies are a little bit more grueling, like some of the stuff in Silicon Valley, like you had to work like 60 hours a week and like just like, yeah, you're making awesome money, but the work-life balance isn't quite there. That's what I really like about working for this company. Um it's just I can live my life and also enjoy my job at the same time.
Sure. And then you also mentioned that Target is paying for your master's degree, so you work on your master's currently.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I can't leave this company because they're paying for my master's degree, but I'm going to get my master's in cybersecurity hopefully soon. So I've just started. I'm
Okay.
only taking a couple of classes now, but I always had interest in cybersecurity, and that's a huge field coming up. Like that is like
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
it's
No,
big. Like it
cybersecurity is has been big for a long time. It's just, but just people don't realize it, and it's definitely
well, that's the
will.
thing. You don't realize how much you need it until like there's an attack and someone like, you know, it's like, whoa, shoot, we should have had some good cybersecurity. Like, so that's why I really want to go into the field because it's really interesting. And it's just so big and upcoming, and then Target's paying for it. So getting my master's.
Yeah, that's awesome. Where are you getting it from?
It's an online school based out in New York called Excelsior.
Okay,
So
cool. So then, what do you like least about your work?
um it what do I like least about my work? I mean, I like working remotely, but it does get lonely. I'm very excited for it to have the option to go back. So I'm officially remote. Like I will stay remote and I like it. I'm not going to change it, but that's also probably what I like least about just because I'm in my apartment alone all day. And you don't get the same like social interactions that you get like after work. You would go out with some coworkers and go have a like some happy hour or just like get to know people in the office a little bit better and hear about their like the little bits of their day. Every time I talk to my coworkers, it's pretty much just business. We try to like have a little bit of an open interaction, like, hey, how you doing? How you been? Like, how was your weekend? But it's pretty it's pretty light on that. So that's kind of the hardest thing. So I definitely would suggest to anybody like joining the field and initially, like, don't start with a remote job. Like start in the office, meet some people. That's kind of what saved me, because like I worked in the office before COVID hit, for that first year. And I met some great people, and I've stayed in contact with those people because of like meeting them in the office.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Where I only worked for 7 weeks before we were working remotely and stuff, and definitely was not enough time to establish those in-person relationships. And so, yeah, I can definitely relate to the working from home and not getting enough face-to-face interaction with people, and you know, a video call just isn't the same as seeing somebody in person and stuff. You don't get all the side chatter and picking up on, eavesdropping on conversations that you probably shouldn't be hearing and all that kind of thing. But yeah, are there any like specific task and like stuff that you do with your job that you don't like, or anything like that?
Um, Not specific tasks, but it does get fun sometimes when you've been like working on a product and uh, some other team will come up and be like, "Hey, actually, we need you to do this. So drop everything because this is higher priority." So
Sure.
that's always a fun thing. I'm currently experiencing a project like that right now. Is like really doing great on my one thing. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this out the door. It's looking great, and then I was like told to drop everything. This is more important. We gotta work on this. So sometimes that's a little bit annoying, because especially when you're like in the groove, and context switching is always a little bit hard. Like it's um from working on like one completely different thing. So for example, the thing I was working on was a lot more front end heavy, and I was working on some components that were actually going on the website, And then I had to start working on some more back-end API related stuff. For people that don't know what that is, it's just like the services that you call. It's not as visual stuff, if that makes sense. So, but it's just part of the job. You got to be able ready to switch it up like that and just kind of do what's needed. But I mean, I wouldn't say I don't like it, but it's like some of the things. It's like, oh no, not again.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. So my position is ticket based. So every time we get a ticket, I've got a big list of tickets I'm going through. So a lot of times there's not enough information of everything that I need, but I don't realize that until I'm like actually like in the heat of it working on something. It's like, oh, I don't have this. So, message one person saying, hey, could use this. And then, can't do anything on that ticket until they respond back. So then I move on to the next ticket. And then all of a sudden, 4 tickets later, I'm getting pinged from 2, 3 different people saying, "Oh, I've got the update." Blah 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 blah. It's just like, okay, who are you and what ticket are you from? And just trying to keep everything straight. It's like
Yeah.
a pinball machine bouncing back and forth from things sometimes. But yeah. So, what kind of problems do you deal with then?
So I guess it ranges from like bugs that appear on like the website. So if like something is not working the way it's supposed to, I'll address those. There's when product like is asking for something big that like, not that it can't be done, but that it can't be done with the current abilities that we have. Like I had to work with them to be able to like, okay, first we gotta do this, this, and this in order to be able to do this. And like a lot of times I had to work with them and be like, is it worth it? Are we going to be able to like see this to the end? Because it's a lot more work than what it might seem. So I had to work through those problems and really address like and really start gather like a lot of information before you dive into a lot of projects, which is hard to do sometimes. And then sometimes working with other teams remotely, communication can kind of be hard. Like if I was having some issues with our CLI the other day. It's just how we deploy our code. And so I had to reach out to that team and like ask some questions, and it took a bit to get back, which kind of was a blocker for me. So I kind of stopped my work, wait for them to get back to me. Whereas like if I was in the office, I could just be like, hey, you got a second?
Right.
And then like when it comes to like working in Scrum, sometimes tickets can be improperly pointed. So pointing is like kind of a guess at how much work it's going to be. Like, is it going to be 1 point, super, super easy? Is it taking 2 seconds, or is it going to be 5 points and it's going to take the entire sprint to do? Sometimes things are improperly pointed and like they'll be pointed at like a 2 and they're really a 5. So it's like, yeah, I know I should have been done with this like 3 days ago, but things changed.
Yeah. What kind of decisions do you make at your job?
I guess, yeah, when it comes to like talking with like the product owners and UX, those are some of the decisions that like they come to me saying they want this, and I need to be able to like, well, we could do this or we can't do this. And obviously I never want to say we can't do this. So those are the decisions I had to make to like figure out like what is the best avenue.
Sure. So then in the grand scheme of things, like how does your position kind of fit in with the organization and the industry and career field as a whole?
Yeah. So within the organization, so I specifically work on deals on web, and the website has to exist to be able to sell targets of retail companies. So our main goal is to sell and make money. Even though they give back to the company and they're super great like that, that's their main goal. So without a website, it's really hard to make online sales. So that's kind of like where I fit in. And deals is a good incentive for people to spend money when maybe they didn't intend to. I know I get trapped in that a lot because it's actually kind of dangerous when I work on deals. I'll be like coding something up, be like, ooh, there's a sale on clothes right now. I could use some more shirts.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even think of that, but yeah, you're probably exposed to all the amazing deals and not so amazing deals that you see on Target. And, you're like, oh, I didn't know I needed that, but it's 60% off, so I do need it now. And yeah.
working. I had to work on call over Black Friday for some of the time. And I was just like,
Mm,
I was just online. Nothing went wrong, but I had to be online. But so I was just online surfing the web. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to do my shopping.
yeah, that's funny. So then moving on to the next portion, we're going to do some hot topic questions. So, what are current issues and trends in the field that people should know about and be aware of?
So software engineering as a career field in general, anything with like computers is huge. It's getting bigger every single day. The world is never going to not need uh, programmers, engineers, all of this. Like it is a huge field to go into. So if you're like someone who's going off to college and wants to make sure they get a good job out of it, like this is the field. Like you're going to be okay if you get a job in anything computer related.
Sure. Yeah, and I think another thing too is that, you don't necessarily have to go into or become a developer right out the gate. You can like kind of do something similar to what I'm doing where I didn't get a developer position that I wanted right away, but I got into a good company that has a huge IT department and I've kind of slowly making my way up the ranks and now there's a project coming down the pipeline here soon that's going to be heavily like coding and developing that I've told all my managers like, hey, this is what I want to do. And they're like, sweet, we're going to put you on this project and you're going to learn a bunch of stuff like as you build this new thing that we're going to work on. And then hopefully from there, we'll see where we want to put you kind of a thing. So, it's easy to step up the ladder. Like if you don't feel like you have all the skills and stuff when you get out of college, because I don't know for you, I personally feel like the computer science program at NDSU wasn't the greatest, but I also was trying to do like a million things at once when I was in college too. So didn't put as much time and effort into my classes as I would like because I was doing ROTC and Air National Guard all at the same time. And it's just kind of like, I'm putting 30 hours a week into ROTC stuff and I would like to be putting this stuff into my classes. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I kind of agree. It's you don't what I'm doing now I did not learn in college. Absolutely did not. College just kind of gave you like a good basis to start off of. So like you're not going in completely running around like you don't have an idea. For sure, like it's hard to learn like business like and business like computing abilities like in college just because you do have to start with the basics. You had to learn like Java 101 and just like do hello world and like that means literally nothing for my job, but it does give you like a starting point. And then like there's like the architecture classes and like how a computer works and all that, and it's cool. It's all really awesome stuff to know, but it is just like the basics, which I understand why they had to teach it, because if we don't know that, like what is there to build off of? But it is very much like on the job learning is what I learned is the best. Especially internships is where I got everything, because you just don't know what you don't know until you're exposed to it, and then you learn. And I'm learning still every day. Like every month I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm already so much better than I was last month, and like what was I doing?
Yeah. Yeah. My dad always told me, he's like, yeah, don't worry if you don't feel like you know everything when you're coming out of college. It's your degree is more of just to say, hey, I know how to learn things and
Mm-hmm.
I can learn things going forward. So,
Yeah, it kind of just shows that you're able to do it. It's just checking that box off.
right. So then what are some common career paths within this field?
Um, I guess yeah. So there's you can go into so many different things. You can go into QA, where you just like test other things, make sure they're working good. You can go into cybersecurity, which I'm trying to get into. You can go into back end software development, where you just create the like database systems, or gosh, there's so many things. Or you can go front end like me, or you can work on app development on iOS or Android. There's so many things that you don't have to specialize in college. It's just kind of like, I mean, sometimes you do, but it usually with the entry level jobs, like they're pretty lenient on like if you have the ability to learn, like you said, like you can jump into this different field. So really, just getting the basics is a cool thing, and there's just anything related to code you can really go into after that.
Sure. So if somebody's looking to go into software engineering or software development, but not sure if that's quite the field for them, what are some similar areas that they could look into maybe?
Yeah. I mean, if you're not sure if it's quite the field, I would always say test it out, because I didn't know I wanted to go into this until I took a class on it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I don't know what similar fields. I guess anything STEM related will usually have things that pertain to computers. So you can always do there. There's you can go into computer engineering, which is kind of like a mix between electrical and computer science, where you could do a little bit hands-on stuff, but you still work with the code. There's a few different things.
Sure. So then that wraps up the hot topics portion, and we're going to start moving into lifestyle and personality topics. So, how does your job affect your general lifestyle? Granted,
It's
I'll
awesome
work from
because,
home now, but
yeah, work from home. So like my lifestyle can be whatever. If I want to go work in Florida, I can. Like if I want to go work, not all jobs offer this, but if I want to go work overseas for a little bit, I can for a little. I just had to come back after a month. But it's like I haven't taken advantage of it as much as I should, but you can really do anything with it. It's
sure.
super free.
So then when you were working in the office, kind of what was your lifestyle like back then? I mean, granted, we probably won't be going back to the same rules and stuff that once COVID is over, but if anybody happens to be in an office setting, like what kind of things can they expect?
Yeah. It's still pretty relaxing. I mean, you do have to, be in the office by the time that you say you're supposed to be. So like, maybe you don't have to be in right at 9, but I would have to make sure I was in before my morning stand up, where I like talk with my team and do all that. Usually you get some, if you're working salaried, you can get some pretty good PTO, paid time off. That is like pretty great. Like, and you could just take that.
Sure.
I guess it's hard to say. I mean, you could still live your full life as in the job, in like non-remote worker. I guess when I was working in the office, I moved down to the cities because I wanted to be able like not commute. Commuting is probably the worst part for me. That was working in the office. I used to live in like the suburbs with my parents for a little bit, and I would commute like 30 to 45 minutes every day if there was no traffic.
Sure.
And it was kind of terrible, but that's just because I don't like to wake up early. So I moved to the cities to be able to walk to the office, which is huge. But like not everybody has the ability to do that, but it is definitely, it's a different change.
Yeah. When I was working in the office, it was some of those days would just be brutal. Just waking up stupid early, because I would take the bus into downtown from all the way from Shakopee, because that's where I was living with my parents at the time. It's just like you gotta wake up early to make sure you catch the bus, and like the last bus leaves at like 7:30 or something. So there's plenty of buses that go out, but they're all stupid early in the morning and stuff. And then it's almost an hour to get to work and stuff, and then almost an hour to get back, and that's 2 hours of your day commuting. Is not fun. But
no. I learned a trick when I was living at my parents'. There happened to be the North Star, which is a train. That was really nice to take. So I know people that live up and down that rail, which is really convenient because you literally just sit on the train. You can work on the train. I would take the last train too. Like I would have to time my schedule out to be able to go to the train station in the morning, take the last train because I didn't want to wake up that early. But it's a little easier because it took away the stress of driving, which was not fun. And then after work, which was great about the train, is I could go and have a cocktail after work with some coworkers, and then I would get on my train because I didn't have to drive, which was really, really nice. So I always take advantage of those public transportation. Like you said, you took the bus, and it's annoying, but it does save some sense of sanity.
Right. Yeah. If you're not actually the one driving, you can kind of do other things while waiting. So
read a book, listen to a podcast. Like, yeah.
Right. So then kind of different direction question. What kind of accomplishments tend to be valued and rewarded in this field?
Yeah. So like always doing your work is a really, good thing to do. Like fill out your tickets, complete your work by the end of the sprint. If you can't, it's always fine to not complete. You just got to like communicate that. But besides like just doing your job, a lot of the time people look for like innovation. If you can like find a need within your job that someone hasn't already pointed out and like solve that need, that's huge. So like if you see like in our deployment pipeline when we're trying to deploy code, if it's taking a lot of time and you know why, so you go in there and you solve like this performance issue, that'd be huge. Like just taking like a little bit of initiative like that is like big in people's eyes. At Target, we do a lot of pro bono stuff with small businesses. So I will spend a lot of my time, not a lot of it, but like Fridays, a couple of times a year, working with like these small locally owned businesses and helping them to grow and like work on their websites and create that for them. And that's also another thing to like just stuff that's not within your regular job is a huge way to get noticed and grow. And plus, you also just learn from those experiences because doing your day job every day, yeah, you're learning, but sometimes you learn a little bit more by branching out and doing different things. So.
Sure. So then what skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential to success in your job and in this field?
I mean, you got to be able to be hardworking. And the biggest thing is you had to be able to work with little to no direction. A lot of the times you're just given these jobs and there's, as an entry-level engineer, you have a lot more people to work with and help you out. But eventually you want to be able to do this by yourself. So being able to like work on these things and asking questions is totally fine. And that is like the biggest thing, like always ask questions, like don't stew in a problem for days. And that's just kind of another thing they need to be able to do is like learn how to ask questions and learn how to like pace yourself, especially with remote working. Like it's easy for me just to walk up and like I'm going to go clean my kitchen. You can't do that.
Right. What's been the most memorable moment in your career?
So the most memorable moment was probably a really cool experience that a lot of companies do. And Target was one of them. It's called the TLP program, and it's the Technology Leadership Program. But it is a fresh out of college like thing that companies will put you. So you're not a like entry level job. It's kind of like a little bit below that. The pay is the same. You're getting paid a normal amount, but what you go into is a rotational program where they will bring you in. You're in with a lot of like 50 other fresh out college grads, and you will go through like orientation together and you'll learn each other, and then they'll put you in a team and you'll work on this team for 6 months, and then 6 months after that you'll switch to another team and you'll work on that for another 6 months, and then after that year passes you can like decide where you want to go within the company. And it's just by doing that you like meet a lot of people, you learn a lot of things. There's some cool events that they do for when you're a TLP. It's really cool, and I know other companies do that too. So it's basically instead of just jumping right into a full-time like right up like position, you get a little bit of a boost. So you learn the job a little bit in a better environment. I can't list other companies that off the top of my head that do that, but I know it's something to look out for. And it's really cool that companies are like pretty like receptive to the fact that it's a little jarring to go right into a job without some experience like that.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, a little bit of a cushion to before you get into the real world.
Hmm.
Do you have any funny, embarrassing, or interesting stories to share from your career?
Yeah, something that was really embarrassing and like just oh gosh, I was typing in what I thought was my command line, and I had Slack open on another page, and it was on our web. Gosh, what was the page? It was digital incident channel, which is a channel that's like a big deal. There's like hundreds or thousands of people in it, and when you post in it, it means things are going bad. So I was typing in my command line. I happen to have that open on another page, and I like typed in git merge master and I sent it and like what the heck, it didn't send. I look over and it sent in that channel and I was like, oh no. And like so it like, and this is a channel that alerted everybody in that channel got alerted to my git merge master. And like one of my old mentors, like he DM'd me, he's like, hey, did you know you posted in there? I'm like, yes I did, I'm deleting it, I'm so sorry. Like, and it was so embarrassing. Like it wasn't that big a deal, it was more embarrassing than anything because like people just
Sure.
looked at it like, oh, it's not a digital incident, but it did cause like thousands of people to like look at their devices and phones and be like, oh no, there's an incident. Oh no, it's just somebody being dumb. So that was so embarrassing. So don't
Yeah,
keep the alert channel up all the time. I learned that lesson the hard way.
sure, sure. So then moving on to the next section. So getting into this career, um, how did you become interested in this field?
So I was originally a physics major because I just really like space and I wanted to go into being like an astrophysicist, which I still love. It would have been cool, but it's not as applicable at a job. So I was taking these physics classes, and to be get the degree, it required you to take like two of the intro to computer science classes. And I took the first one. I was like, I love this. This is great. Kind of funny because I grew up with my dad being a computer guy. And I grew up with him just like the black screen with the white letters and him just in this cave of a basement. And I'm like, I am never doing that. That looks terrible. Nope, not for me. And then I took one class and I was like, ooh, okay, like father, like daughter. I get it. I like it.
Yeah, that's funny. So how do you begin your career?
Um, Internships, I guess, is the best way to go about like really beginning a career. It's a good stepping stone. You're still in college too, so like they don't expect a lot of you, and you could fail in an internship. So I always look for those opportunities. And then, like I said, uh, um, yeah, I guess the TLP program was a huge way for me to begin my career. Um, I guess how I originally got my first internship is I joined a women in technology symposium that was being hosted. And I actually I found out about that because I was volunteering for a robotics event for First Robotics. I was there. There's some people there and like, hey, are you interested in technology? I'm like, yes, I am. And they're like, come to this event. So I went to this like women in technology symposium, learned all about some stuff, and then from that got my internship with Target. So it's really just uh, taking every advantage of every opportunity that's given to you, even if like you might not get it, just like do it. I guess one of my first internship before I had my one with Target was also with NASA. Um, so I had just applied. I had never thought I would get it. I just applied and also got a call and I was like, wow, okay. And I was a sophomore at this time in college. I didn't have any experience.
Hmm.
But it's really just take every opportunity that's out there, throw your hat in the ring. Worst thing that can happen is you don't get it, which then you just try again.
Right, right. So I think we had talked about this earlier, but we can rehash if we want to. What was your school slash training like, and how relevant is your current job? Um, like how relevant was your school and training for the job?
Yeah. I guess we talked about that a little bit. I'm 4 year degree, went to same school as you, North Dakota State University. Um, just you get your degree, and it is relevant. It is relevant for the basics. You need it. You can't just really hop into a career like this without that, because there are so many people that go to college for it. You're just not gonna. There are some like shorter programs you can look into too. I know there's some 2-year associates where you start a little bit lower and but you work your way up in the companies. You don't have to get a 4-year degree, but you do have to get some sort of education. Because it's just so hard to not, because there's so many people out there that do have that education. It's not like back in the day. My dad, he never got a degree, and he's like a director of a company now. But it's just kind of, that doesn't happen anymore because he learned the job in the Air Force, and then came out of that and got a job and just kind of worked his way up the ladder. And now he is actually kind of hitting a plateau because they require him to have a master's to be able to go to the next spot. And he's like, well, I don't even have a degree.
Right.
But that doesn't really happen anymore because
Sure.
there's just so many people that have degrees. So it is just like a requirement now just to like just check that box off.
Sure. Kind of got lost in the questions. How did you begin your career? I guess we kind of already talked that too, but maybe just retouch on that a little bit.
Yeah. My professional career right out of college was with the TLP program. So it was super amazing. I met a lot of people, learned a lot of stuff, learned different fields of the job, which was huge. That's why I like that program the most, is because I didn't know I wanted to do web development until I did it. I didn't even know it was an option actually until like going through that program.
So then, what are the most effective strategies for seeking position in this field?
Um, I guess, yeah. So if you got your degree, and you're looking for jobs, definitely make sure that your LinkedIn is filled out. There's some cool programs on LinkedIn that you can get like certifications, I guess, which will make recruiters look at you a little bit better. There's like some coding things that you can just like do in there that'll like give you badges and just respond to recruiters in there, have people reach out. And I've been in the job for 3 years now, and I have my LinkedIn is full of people always reaching out to me, even though I'm like not currently looking for a job. So that's definitely a really good resource to have like together. If you want to get a job that has some skills that you don't currently have, like there is so many resources out there for you to like learn those skills. And then technical interviews are the bane of my existence and probably every engineer, computer person's existence, and that's how you get a job. So getting a job in this field is a little bit different than other fields. You don't just talk about yourself and your experiences. It's like kind of like a test, which sounds scary, but it's just, so there's a lot of resources out there that like will help you be a good coding interview person. So you'll go into a job and they're like, okay, so I give you this problem, how would you approach it? And like you would like go through how you would do it, or they could send you like assessments online that you would program something up. It's really just to prove that you're not lying about your skills. So that is, they sound scary, but there's a lot of reasons out there to get good at them. They're mostly annoying more than anything.
Sure. I think that brings us to the end of that section, and we're going to move on to the advice for other people section. So, what has been your biggest failure in your career thus far, and what did you learn from it?
So I guess my biggest like continuing failure, or the beginning part of my career, was I was really bad about asking for help. I would struggle on a problem for weeks, days, and just like I got this. I need to grind it out and do it myself, which is not the way to learn. Asking questions is huge. Asking for help, asking for someone to like work you through it. Like, first of all, you're in a job, you want to get the things done faster. You're getting paid to get the product out the door. So you being stubborn and just trying to get your nose to the ground, it's not the best way to do it. I was bad at recognizing that. So I learned a lot better that like ask questions a little bit sooner. And then a lot of times the answers are really simple and you're like, oh, duh, now that makes a lot more sense. And it saves you a lot of heartache.
Sure. Yeah, I know sometimes it feels like you need to strike a balance between asking too many questions because you don't want to stop somebody else from doing their job. But I've kind of learned that you just ask the questions and they'll tell you, I don't have time for you right now. Like, we can do this later. Mm-hmm. And, that's like the worst response I've ever gotten. People are usually like pretty pretty willing to like help new people learn stuff, or if you're not new, just if there's something you don't know, you can
Yeah. And
ask
then
people.
like now when you get further in your field, you'll know that like you could help people. So like you kind of give it back. So now I'm like, if people ask me questions, I can hopefully help them because so many people help me in the beginning. And it's just part of starting your field. You're not expected to know everything.
Who has been the most influential to you in your career?
That's a hard question. Just like there's so many people in my life that at some point have been influential, like professors in the past have been influential, like just like people, peers. Um, my parents, obviously, they're always super supportive. Uh, Mentors in like my field now, like those people are always hugely influential. They're the people that are always willing to like help you and um, just help in your growth. It's besides like my mom, my dad, which is like a really like cliche one to say. It's just been just throughout life. I've had a lot of different influential people that have helped me in like what I needed at the time.
Sure, sure. Do you have any recommendations for anything like trade journals or magazines or professional associations which would be helpful for somebody who's looking into getting a job in this career field?
Yeah, so for women, there's something called the Women or the Society of Women Engineers (SWE), and it's just it's a good resource, and it's just women across the country. They're all engineers and all going through a lot of similar stuff that other women are going through, and it's an organization that specifically women can join. That's one that I was part of, and I think men can join it too, actually, but it's that the name is that. But
Sure.
it's other than that, that was the one that I had joined. I don't really know off the top of my head any other really good ones.
Sure. Do you have any like, YouTube channels or anything like that that you like to go to for learning more stuff about in your
Slack Overflow,
field?
or Stack Overflow, yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of the go-to is that one.
sure. If you could do it all over again, would you choose the same path for yourself, or would you do anything different? I mean, all the way from college, maybe high school, even to where you are now.
Yeah, I guess I would give computer science a shot a little bit earlier in life. I was always so anti against it because my dad did it and it looked miserable. But I just like had that in my head because it just looking at I never even gave it a second thought other than it looks gross. I would have definitely have started with like opening up to that first, and then maybe I would have started my career in computer science then instead of doing physics. Because I mean, physics is cool and all, but there's not a lot of applications, and it's really hard. I was really stressed beginning of college because like it's not for everybody, and computer science was my thing. So I just had to learn that, and I wish I would have learned that earlier.
Right, right. What advice would you give to someone who's considering this type of job?
Um, Stick with it. It gets easier the more you learn. You again, you never know everything. You are always learning. You don't know what you don't know. Just stick with it, and ask for help when you need it. There's so many resources out there for you to learn to. It's just kind of you'll get it. It's okay.
Sure. Are there any other resources that you would recommend for people?
Yeah, so there's some good like online places that you can go to learn to code. Front end masters is a really good one for front end engineers. It's a lot one that I go to a lot to just help brush up on some skills. Or when I first started doing web development, I went there to learn some skills. Um, Pluralsight is a really good one too. They do have like entire like beginner of if you want to learn a certain like coding language or tech stack or something. They have like a lot of stuff. Start at the very beginning, go to the end. It's just a really good learning platform. Code Academy has some really good stuff too. So all those things are just really helpful.
All right, and then the last question I've got for you: if you could step into my shoes and as the interviewer, what would something you ask yourself that I didn't ask you?
Such a hard one.
If there's nothing, you don't have to say. This is kind
Yeah,
of like if I missed anything, let
yeah,
me
yeah.
know.
Could I help you ask some other questions in future interviews? Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think I have to think on that. I will have to, if I think of anything, I will let
Okay.
you know. But I don't have
If you don't
anything.
have anything, that's totally fine. That's kind of the Uno reverse card that I throw in at
Sure.
the end. So, but you don't have anything, that's fine. Yeah, that's all my questions so far. So, yeah. Anything else you want to add? Any comments or concerns? Let me check the chat to see if there's anybody who's asked any questions or anything. If you're watching this live right now and you've got any questions to ask for Sam, go ahead and throw them in chat. And we can wait here a little bit. I don't think we have a lot of viewers right now at least at the time of this live video. So I'm not seeing any chat. So that's totally fine. So thank you for coming on the show today. To anybody who made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. We will be doing the next episode within the next week or two here. I gotta double check the schedule. I believe we're gonna have somebody who works in cybersecurity come on the show. So stick around for that. If you want to make sure that you're not going to miss any of my videos, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit that little button down below, and then leave a comment. Let me know if there's anything I can do to make these videos better. I want to try to make them beneficial for those who are watching. And if you like what you see, give a thumbs up. If you hate it, you can give us a thumbs down. So yeah, that wraps up today. We will see you next time. Bye.